welcome to Warsaw, Poland. My name's Christine Dryden, and I am the founder of Galavante, the travel and lifestyle company. I'm traveling to all 195 countries in the world while making a difference along the way. And it's that difference which is why I'm here in Warsaw, Poland today. My company, Galavante, has a foundation, Galavante in the World, that focuses on humanitarian, women's rights, and educational issues around the world. So what does Warsaw, Poland have to do with that? The answer is everything, and it begins with Afghanistan. Seriously, the best. In 2019, I guest lectured at the American University of Afghanistan in Kabul, which is the top university in the Middle East. That experience changed my life. And really, if you're traveling the right way, that's exactly what travel should do for you. The path that I wanted to take into my life became clearer because I became a mentor to the female scholarship recipients who fought their entire lives for their education. Because under the Taliban regime, women were not allowed to learn, and quite frankly, they were not allowed to live. In 2001, when the American forces came into Afghanistan, the average Afghan was living on less than $2 a day. That's 90% of the population. And out of 26.5 million people, only 5,000 girls, not women, but girls were even in primary school. Over the course of the next 20 years, there were great strides made in education. The American University of Afghanistan was founded by former First Lady Laura Bush. When the university first started over 15 years ago, there were 38 students, one of whom was a woman. In 2021, of the 1,200 students, over 48% were women. With the fall of Afghanistan in August of 2021, all of those changes will be completely wiped out. There's not enough time in this program, and quite frankly, there are not enough tears to describe the dire situation that's in Afghanistan today. 5 months in the making. I can't believe we have been talking for the past 5-6 months. The extraordinary tie between Warsaw and Afghanistan is represented in this beautiful woman that is here with us today, Masouma.
It's a privilege to meet you after 6 months of talking over Zoom or WhatsApp. It's a privilege to meet like today on Women's Day. Yeah, out of all days.
If you can, I know parts of it are going to be hard, but I'd really love to share your story.
It's a privilege to share my story with everyone.
So finally, we are in a warmer place, like I promised Masouma. And Masouma is going to share her story with us about how Afghanistan and now Warsaw have tied together in your life in this 6 months, which you have a lot to tell us.
A lot.
So maybe we'll start from the beginning. Mm-hmm. Where are you from?
Well, it's a privilege to be here today to speak with you after so long of, texting and calls through Zoom that we eventually got a chance to meet here in Warsaw. And I am from Afghanistan. I am from Herat city, and my story is similar to the stories of so many other Afghan females who are trying to make their way, make a path towards a better future and build their careers and contribute to the betterment and improvement of the community in Afghanistan. I was born in Tehran in Iran, and I was struggling there even as an immigrant to get education, but I still made my way. And in 2006, when I came back to Afghanistan, I never saw my homeland before that, and when I went to Afghanistan, fortunately I had the opportunity to study in a very good school which was supported by the US, by NATO. and I had the opportunity to get many scholarships. And one thing which is taught by the Western education is leadership. We've been taught to influence our community and help people from the very young age, and that's bringing a positive change. It's what I have been trained for more than 10 years.
I know this is going to be hard for you, but I'd like to talk about what happened in August 2021 and how you were able to leave Kabul.
And everything happened so suddenly. I was on a vacation. I was studying in American University of Afghanistan, and I graduated in May 2021. I was done with my bachelor's. I did computer science, and I was happy that I finished the degree.
Computer science, that is a big deal.
And I was happy, and I was like, I was working in Kabul and at the same time studying, so I was staying in Kabul, and my family live in Herat. They're still there. And after 2 years of not meeting my family, and because I was busy with work and with studies, so I decided to take a break and go for a vacation to Herat, to my family, and visit my younger siblings. And it was early August, and at that time Herat was under Taliban's attack, and people were resisting, and I myself was too optimistic, and along with other females we were providing aid, and we were providing food for fighters who were fighting against Taliban, because that was the only thing that we could contribute at that time. I myself don't have any military skill to fight, but that was what I could. And at that time there was no flight available to Kabul, and I was applying for a scholarship for my master's at that time, but there was no electricity and internet, and I needed to go back to Kabul so that I could finish my application, and flights were banned and Herat was under attack, but still people were resisting. And then things were calm, and I found a flight. So I took the flight and I went to Kabul, and just one day after I left Herat collapsed.
To the Taliban?
To the Taliban. And I called my family, and they said, yeah, they took the city, and I couldn't believe that. And still I was optimistic that Kabul is the capital. It will resist, at least for 3 months, or at least for 6 months. It's gonna resist, because it's the capital. It's where the president is, and it's where all military forces are there, and they will defend the city. But it took them only 4 days.
You were 22 years old at the time,
yeah.
And you saw that everything you had fought so hard for in your entire life and your education, you saw that going away with the Taliban entering Kabul.
That was what I was thinking about in that moment, my education. The application that I was working on, it was open on my browser, and I was just trying to hold everything so that nothing slips. And I was just trying to keep everything that I earned during my years of education and all the achievements that I have so far, and I had to save them.
And so what did you do? Did you show up at the airport? We all saw the horrific scenes of what happened at the Kabul airport, and those are things that are going to be forever imprinted in our minds, at the sheer desperation that people had to get out of Kabul when the Taliban took over Afghanistan. So what was your move?
At that time, honestly, I was I was so unprepared. I was in contact with my friends, and then the company that I was working for, my boss is a very kind man who has been really caring towards me and towards my education and my career. And I was working as a data management assistant in his company. And then he put me in contact with Wall Street Journal, who were evacuating their stuffs.
And so that is how your extraordinary story started to unfold at the airport, was through the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, they tremendously helped me to get inside the airport, although we tried many times to get inside the airport, and after so many failed attempts, we finally made it.
Can you share with us what happened the first time you tried to go to the airport?
Yeah, sure. The first time, it was the first day of Taliban getting inside the city. I got this call from my boss, and he told me to come to this spot. There was a square called Polisorg. He called me and told me to come to the airport and come to Polisorg in 5 minutes. So without any trouble, we got inside the airport that day. But after a few hours, things got scary because people were coming inside the airport because they heard the rumor that flights are taking people to the US and to Canada freely, and everyone was coming. And people were coming inside the airport, and everyone was scared. They were smashing everything. They were looting shops, and they were destroying everything. And they were so desperate to get just inside the plane. And with that crowd that I saw, it was almost impossible to make it to the runway. And I spent that night in the airport, and I hacked my bag, and I was like holding that, and I just went to a corner so that nobody can find me and harm me. And the next morning, so Wall Street Journal team and New York Times team, so they got together, and there were children, there were women, because they were with their family members, and we made a circle. Men made a circle, and children and women were inside the circle. So the whole day we spent the whole day near the runway in sunlight, and soldiers were constantly shooting just to scare people to leave. And they weren't scared because they had a bigger fear of Taliban, and they thought that if they stay in the airport for longer, there will be a flight for them to leave, and they wouldn't let flights take off. And then the second day, on 16th, when Taliban, at the end of the day, when Taliban came inside the airport, I was very scared, and I thought that they will start beating people, they will start shooting and killing people. And then I remember that I made a pact with my friend from Wall Street Journal that if they start shooting people, if they start killing people, we made a pact that if they start doing that, we're gonna go to a Marine, we're gonna go to an American soldier, and we ask him to shoot us before a Taliban come and kill us, because we believe that they wouldn't just straight kill you. They would torture you. They would do worse things, and then they would kill you gradually. And I had that fear in my mind. And
that was your plan. You're 22 years old. You are at the airport, and instead of wanting to go back or leave the airport, you just thought that the best alternative would be to die versus to fall into the hands of the Taliban.
I just didn't want them to feed on my fear. Well, obviously I was afraid for my life, but I wouldn't want them to take my life. and I would have ended myself first before them doing that. But then there was a very huge crowd, and they also wanted to make people leave the airport, and we were kind of compressed, more people, and we couldn't even breathe properly because many children got stepped on, and people were stepping on people and they were running. And when they were making people leave, they were shooting and they were whipping people, and one of them whipped me.
A Taliban soldier?
Yeah, one of them whipped me 3 times on my feet. And then rather than the pain, I was angry. That anger just feeding on me, that I was seeing this guy beating me and I can't do anything because he's armed. And that ignorance in them. My generation and I have been fighting ignorance with our lives. And just reminded me of the, I think that you know about the attack that they did on our university in 2016.
At AUAF?
Yeah. I lost 3 friends that night. And my friends' faces were flashing before my eyes. And I was like, no, these animals will never change. They will never change. If they try to, they will never. Because it takes years of education. It takes years of making them aware of the basic needs, basic rights of a human being. And this Talib whipping me can never understand me. I can never live under their government, and I have to make my way outside. So they made us leave, and then it was dark, it was night, and then I went. I was with another female, and then we went to her house, but then we didn't have any means to go back to home because that was dark, and then Taliban wouldn't allow women to walk alone. And then we literally trusted a stranger to come with us to home and drop us home. And then he did, and we paid him. And the next morning, well, that night when I arrived home, so Wall Street Journal team called me that what happened. And then I told them that yeah, I got whipped and this happened, but I'm fine. But then they made another plan for 6 people from Wall Street Journal, and I was also included. And the next day we again tried to enter the airport through different gates, but then again we failed. And we again went back home. And my friends were completely disappointed that we're not going to make it. And then the next morning we tried early in the morning, and with a better coordination, we finally made it to the airport through Abbey Gate. And when we got inside the airport, that was when I got to know that okay, I am gonna board a Ukrainian flight.
So, at the time, obviously, this was August of 2021. You do board the Ukrainian flight.
I did. When I entered the airport, I still waited for 3 more days inside the airport because there were still Ukrainian citizens stuck, and they couldn't make it inside the airport, and we had to wait for them. And finally, on 21st of August, we boarded the flight, and we went to Kiev on 22nd.